Hello there, well this one is called Dopamine Fasts. I do find it very interesting and amusing how more and more we're getting expressions from science and from biology and from medicine creeping right into the mainstream to the point that it is now totally accepted. So dopamine is one of those chemicals that the body is capable of producing, and when people talk about the dopamine hit, meaning a little blast of pleasure, satisfaction, which comes from something happening. And this is most obviously known of in context these days with social media. In fact, you've only got to go on something like YouTube and start searching for dopamine hits and dopamine fasting. You'll be completely overwhelmed by an avalanche of information. Well, this film is particularly directed to those who go on retreats. So what I want to say to you is, if you go on a retreat, this is a golden opportunity for you to get in a bit of dopamine fasting. But I guess I need to explain to you the why of it. Why would anyone want to go on a dopamine fast, and what is all this about? So the simplest thing is, if you go into any kind of social media where there's any opportunity to do any kind of liking, if something can be liked, then this puts you right into the heart of the territory of the whole process. And what can happen to a person pretty quickly is, once you get yourself a presence on social media, the next thing is you simply become a likes junkie. You become one of these people obsessed by how many other people are liking your content. Quite a journey. And it's fascinating to me that the whole of the human race that has any ability to access and own a device has had the opportunity to go on this journey. And it's a journey into narcissism. It's a journey into, let's just take things to this really extreme of becoming completely obsessed in what it is I'm doing and what other people think about it and feel about it. Okay, so let's dial it back. So really what I want to talk about with regard to retreat is, because it has become one of the most habit-forming practices, being dependent upon dopamine hits, little bits of appreciation you get from someone else, particularly through social media. If you have the opportunity to go on a retreat, one of the best things you can do is to go on a dopamine fast. Now, it's really counterintuitive, but this is the way that it works. The more that you are habituated to dopamine hits, little blasts of pleasure from your social media interactions, the more it becomes a desirable thing, and the more likely you are to crave more and more and more of it, until it reaches a point when it starts to become really yucky. And at that point, that is when you've reached a point of being so dependent upon these that the idea of life without the device, for example, just seems inconceivable. And in fact, there's something that I've noticed amongst people over the years. If someone's phone is about to run out of charge, there's often quite a strong emotional response to this, rather as if someone is about to die. Not really, but on an emotional level, there's that kind of, oh dear, my device is about to run out of charge, oh, it's so terrible. So this gives us an idea just how habituated we've become. And I do find it hilarious that there are some people that really look down their noses at people who take any kind of a substance. Oh, it's all drugs, oh, it's all so terrible, and yet they can be more hooked on their own body chemistry than other people are on the things that they're actually taking into their bodies. So I do find that just more than slightly ironic. So if you are on a retreat, one of the best things you can do is to say to yourself, right, I'm doing something different, so this is an opportunity to put my device away, switch it off, and not make use of it either for part of the time or for all of the time on the retreat. So the reason why people are reluctant to do this is because if you have been so habituated with lots and lots of dopamine hits, if you suddenly stop having any, it can cause you to feel a bit down, or maybe even very down. And so here's what people are realizing, who've done a lot of the research on the dopamine, is that one of the best things you can do is to allow yourself to feel really down, to really drop down. And by so doing, that literally is preparing you for the opportunity to experience more of the times that you enjoy. And it's an inevitable part of human life, isn't it? We all get our up times and we all get our down times. And I've just been through some really strong down times recently. A few significant things have happened to me and not happened to me, and I felt like, this feels like really yuck. So let's just go with it. Let's just really immerse myself in it. Let's completely feel how awful it feels that this didn't happen and that did happen. And the more you can do that, the quicker it all changes. And then that enables you to be ready to start to appreciate other things in life. So one of the things that particularly happens to people on retreats, particularly nature's medicine retreats, is they become so captivated, entranced and fascinated by nature in all the many different forms. And as I say that, I arrived at this place with this branch just literally hanging right in front of me, waving its buds in front of me, saying, hello, look how beautiful, look at the beautiful buds on my branch, aren't I lovely? And you most certainly are. So this is one of the things we can do. We can go into really deep appreciation of the little things. I mean, I can just Google that right now. I mean, just look at this bark on this tree. Just look how beautiful that is. And there are so many opportunities for us to do this, to become literally entranced and fascinated by whatever it is in a natural environment. And that is such a healing thing to do, when it's literally an opportunity to reset. You can reset yourself by doing things like this, and you can start to realize that it feels so good to connect with nature, with little things in life. And then as I'm being presented by them, and they are everywhere I go at the moment, one of the most common flowers in this part of the world, it's a dandelion. Dandelions full of phytochemicals, full of antioxidants, full of wonderfully healing properties, and very, very anti-inflammatory. So one of the things I like to do, I like to give thanks. So I'm going to give thanks to this dandelion flower, and I'm going to pop this one into my mouth and savour the flavour. Making that physical connection with nature so beneficial. So that's it. With regard to dopamine fasting, explore, find out what it's like to leave the devices off for a while. Give yourself a day or so. If you're going on a retreat, give yourself as much the time as you can on the retreat, off the devices and open to the nature. All the love to you.